what happens, but we find the Pope in a war with Donald Trump. The Pope versus the Donald. They both have definite articles before their first name. I mean, that's pretty cool. The Pope, the Donald. There you are. And sadly, I have encountered followers of both that really thought along the same lines, too. It's just, whoo. Sad. Very, very sad. Very strange. Anyways, yes, Donald Trump said that. Now, look, I know what all the memes are saying and the stuff flying around social media. Thankfully, I happened to catch video of the actual statement, and it was an offhand remark, wasn't written down, being translated. And if we've learned anything so far, you got to be a little slow on jumping on translated stuff because of the fact that it's a translation. And my gut feeling is that what the Pope was saying, given that this is the same guy who, in talking about a homosexual, says, "Who am I to judge?" What he was probably saying was, anyone building walls and not fences, that is not Christian. Not that person's not a Christian, because this Pope would loathe to have that level of a standard. But I think we can learn what is most important to the Pope. This guy is a liberation theologian, which is nothing more than saying a communist. He is a religious communist. And the idea that he would have problems with a border. Folks, if you don't have borders, you don't have nations. If you don't have nations, you don't have laws. You have anarchy. You can't render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's if no one knows where Caesar rules. I mean, it really is an open invitation to a form of utter anarchy, to grouse about borders. But isn't it interesting? He can grouse about physical borders, but he doesn't seem to have any problem. But he seems to have a major problem with understanding theological borders. In regards to all the issues that define the gospel and things like that. This Pope is just, we're going to be talking about a lot of Roman Catholic teaching, including the papacy itself. But to anybody who understands historical Roman Catholic theology, this Pope is not just an enigma, he's a contradiction. It is painfully obvious, absolutely painfully obvious, that this man does not believe what was believed by popes for centuries. And so no matter what else you do, if you want to look at the papacy and go, oh, hey, we have this established church and it's the church of 2,000 years. Of course, there wasn't any papacy in those early years, but, you had the Bishop of Rome and his power grew slowly over time. But when you look at what became Roman Catholicism and compared Roman Catholicism only 150 years ago with today, massive change. And it's got to be tough for the Roman Catholic apologist who, wants you to believe that, you have all this confusion and we have the Pope. You mean you don't have confusion? You mean every day people aren't trying to figure out what the Pope meant by that last statement? Yeah, you do. Now, of course, Trump's response was, for a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. Maybe he's only read that 2 Corinthians part. Well, no, if he had read that, he would have run across religious leaders questioning other persons' faiths. Like in Galatians or Jesus in Matthew 23 or John in 1 John and 2 John and Luke and we get the idea. The Donald knows that much about the Bible, but pretends, it's all pretense. I think he pretends to be a lot of things like pro-life and everything else. But anyway, for a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. Well, the proper response would have, of course, been to look for the context of what the Pope was saying, recognize it was a translation, maybe put a nice spin on it. But that's not the Donald's way. And but it does give us some insights into the Pope's priorities.